Welcome back into another episode of Red Zone Talk. We're calling this episode 10, episode 11. I should have looked. Episode
This
11.
is this is 11. Yeah, we're gonna keep
11
right
it
on.
is. I'm behind with the times. I've been gone for a week. I had a real rough week outside of work even. I mean, work was bad, but life just got the better of me last week. So Tim carried the flag proudly last week. I do appreciate you, making the show go on. So thank you to everyone who listened to Tim ramble for
45
his own
minutes.
45 minutes. That's what I was
Yeah, it
thinking.
was a shorter little show. Kept it tight. 45. That's all I could really do solo. So
That's smart. Yeah, I used to do the hour and a half show by myself. I still don't know how I did it, honestly. Like,
yeah, it's a long time. It's hard to do 45 minutes by yourself and nonstop just talk and to have like zero pause breaks or anything in
no
there.
ad breaks, nothing. You're just
Yeah.
going.
I think
But
30 minutes in I had to just like pause it and go to the bathroom and like not talk for like 5 minutes and I just sat in here and just was like silent.
I'm gonna sit here for a second.
I was like, I don't know if I can keep talking. So
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of football to talk about. Obviously, a lot of great stuff going on in the NFL. We're going to kick it straight in. I'm very excited to get to our headlines portion because I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this before we got here. So I get to talk about it just live with the microphone in front of your face and see how you feel about this thing. So before we get to that, hit us up on all of our social medias, right? We're Red Zone Talk on YouTube. I need to write this. I need a cheat sheet to look at. Red Zone Talk
Red
on
Zone
YouTube.
Talk, Red Zone Talk Pod on YouTube.
Pod on YouTube. See, I always forget which is which.
Yeah.
Red Zone Talk Pod on YouTube, right? Probably
Yep.
listen to Red Zone Talk on Spotify as we speak, or you're watching our ugly mugs on Spotify. I apologize to all you out there that are doing that. TikTok, still probably username 19 different numbers.
Yeah, I still can't update. I think I've got another week before I can update it, and then we'll
Getting there,
we'll
folks.
be
The
there.
countdown is nearing an end. Hopefully by episode 12, we have an actual TikTok username, but you still can find us there. Red Zone Talk. Is it just Red Zone Talk on TikTok? If they look that up?
Yeah, I don't know. It's if you search Red Zone Talk Pod, it'll pop up.
There you go.
Instagram is the only one that we're Red Zone Talk on.
Beautiful. Also, I'm still on Twitter, Owen_Burke. If you want to see all my nonsense about non-related show tweets, I do a lot of that stuff on there as well. So, with all that being said, time for some trivia. Do you want to run through our new rules of trivia for anyone who missed 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. So we're down to one trivia question now. It'll be a list form question, which is what we like to do, which you guys like to watch. I basically converted our scores. We were both, I think, like 6-6, or you were 7-5.
I think I
like
was
that.
up 10.
You're
to
up 10
start.
points. And then 2 weeks ago, obviously, I asked Owen. He got 6 out of the 10 right. So he's at 120 points. I'm still at 60 because I haven't done one of the list ones. But each correct answer on the list is worth 10 points. So
That indeed.
just to make it easier, and that way, we're not doing 45 minutes of trivia and then having to stretch the rest of the show out. Hopefully, it'll make the show's a little bit tighter, 90 minutes, to make it a little bit more consumable for everybody. And then only like 15 minutes or so of trivia. Not even 15 minutes. Hopefully, like 10 or 5 is really the goal there.
You're getting 30 with one question still, so
Yeah.
that's not the goal, but we'll see. We do love to ramble on these things. So Tim needs 6 correct answers to tie it up, 7 correct answers out of the 10 to take the lead. I do think it's possible, but I think the difficult part of this one is going to be the guys that are just off the list. I think there's going to be some notable names that might throw you for a loop. So we are going to kick it straight to your favorite team, right in your wheelhouse. All right. We're looking at all-time Patriots tackle leaders today. I know we did sacks a while back, I think, and that one stumped you up a bit more than it should have, but tackles is here. And like I said, I think I want to say 9 of these 10 guys, if not all 10, are gettable. Yeah, I think they're all post 2000, if I'm correct. Maybe not drafted, but you think playing career post 2000.
Yeah.
But again, beware of the 10 to 20 range. There are going to be some notable names that might not be on this list, so keep that in mind.
Tackles is interesting.
Yeah, and longevity I do think comes into play here. There are some guys that didn't have a long career that are here, but obviously Super Bowl Patriots era, longevity comes to play.
All right, you ready for me?
Bring it on.
Dante Hightower has to be here.
Dante Hightower is sixth.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's sixth on the list. 117 games played, 353 tackles. Just for your knowledge, bottom on this list, 272 tackles. The top one, 740.
Okay.
You do have a very large gap between 1 and 2 on this list.
Teddy Bruschi's got to be here as well, I'm assuming.
Teddy Bruschi is here, number 4, 453 tackles in his career.
I almost would have guessed he would have been 1, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, there are some guys above him.
Long time Patriot. I am gonna. You said how many hints are you gonna give me? You're gonna give me 3 strikes and 2 hints, or is that what you said?
I think I can do 2 hints. We'll do 2 hints.
Okay. Can I ask a question for my hint?
Yeah, perfectly fine. I'd prefer it.
How many players are linebackers versus defensive line? And then we'll throw secondary in there. I doubt anyone's secondary.
You'd be surprised, actually. Let me
okay.
make sure this is the right cat. I'm pretty sure this is who I'm thinking of. Yes. Okay.
You can just read me the names and I'll tell you.
Yeah. Right. 1, 2, 3. I gotta check this last one. I knew he was, but how about this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DBs.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ooh.
half the list. Half the list DBs. Again, all post 2000 guys. You're also dealing with 1 defensive lineman that you haven't got, and then 2 linebackers.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I say DBs, DBs are all there.
Safety, like you're including safeties and DBs, right? Secondary. Okay.
Yeah, secondary in general.
Okay, so Devin McCourty's got to be here. He was a longtime Patriot.
Number one on the list. Yeah, he is the man with 740 tackles in his career.
Maybe safeties get more tackles and I just don't realize it. But you look at the tackle leader every year and it's like Fred Warner's always top 3. So I just assume it would be linebackers.
Yeah, it's always a linebacker that leads the league. To also give this to you, the games played, he's at 205 games played. The next closest guy is 158, 141, and then 125. Yeah. So he's
a long time.
He's played later. Yeah, he's got 4 or 5 seasons on some of these guys.
Okay, so if there's this many DBs, I gotta think Ty Law's got to be here. There's no way he's not.
Ty Law, actually not here.
Wow,
Ty Law's a decent ways
off the list. Is he
he's
really?
Actually, yeah, he's a decent ways. 54 games played. Does that sound right?
Oh, yeah. I would have thought it would have been more, but okay.
Yeah, 54 games played, 204 tackles. Again, 272 was our mark to make the list. So he's a hair down there. I want to say, was it this one? Yeah, and I guess it depends on what website you're looking at. Because I'm looking at StatMuse, obviously, as my preferred website of choice. You would be correct by Pro Football References thing. They give him that's so weird that it's such a crazy. But the games played are so much different too. I don't know. I'm gonna run off StatMuse's list.
Wait, Ty Law 50 games? That can't be right. That's no way.
What I was thinking.
There's no way. Has StatMuse got some weird caveat to it? Because Ty Law played in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like he played 10 years in New England.
Yeah, and it only lists him as. It doesn't make any sense to me. I would agree with you because he did play from 95 to 04 for you guys.
Yeah.
Oh. I think StatMuse may not have tracked tackles until 2001. I think that's what I'm seeing now, which is super weird and obviously going to throw this list for a loop.
Okay. It makes it more manageable knowing that information.
Yeah. So
is the pro reference list going to be easier to go off of or no? I mean, if it's not, you tell me how gettable it is. I can just change my gears to post 2000.
It's still pretty gettable. I think it'll be a lot more difficult for you to tie this up because like Donta Hightower's at 15 on on that list versus being 4th on.
Yeah, I don't care. You decide. If I just don't want to count that as a strike either way because now that
I'm okay with not counting that as a straw. I would say
post 2001.
Yeah, I think 2001 and on as far as tackles are concerned. But again, I think 9 of these 10 guys are like very front of mind when I think of Patriots defenders in the 2000s era. Like,
Oh,
So I
I was
guess you
gonna guess
gotta stay away from the guys that are drafted in the
post
mid
early.
90s.
Yeah, because I was gonna say Larry Malloy next, but that doesn't make any sense now because he got traded like 03. So I'm not gonna guess that.
Just to tell you,
He's
he's
got
number 5 on the Pro Football Focus version of the
yeah,
list, but not in the top
long
10
time.
on ours.
Yeah, long time Patriot Larry Malloy. We actually traded him to Buffalo, I think, or cut him, and he signed in Buffalo. Um, man, post 2001 safety. One of the guys I was thinking could definitely be here. Um, is Asante Samuel here?
Asante Samuel is not here. Another guy that is
Mm,
just off.
okay.
Um, again, well, yeah, no, he played. I guess he was after 2001. Just didn't
Yeah, he was.
chart.
He was. I was like, he's post 2001, but he only played like 5 years with us, 6 years.
Yeah, 75 games played for you guys.
Yeah, man, I can't be Jason McCourty. I'm just trying to think of like the problem is all of our corners play like 3 great years, go sign somewhere else. It's like
Yeah,
can't be
there's I want to say two safety. I don't know. I gotta look this guy up because I don't know
okay.
if he was the one guy that I'm like, I don't know if this guy is gettable. Is the one guy I don't know if he's a safety or a corner. Oh, he played in
Yeah.
Baltimore and he was a corner.
Okay.
Um, but I didn't know he played in Baltimore, but he did.
Oh, it's Jalen
Uh,
Mills.
yeah, this guy. Number 3 on this list was surprising as a safety that I was surprised to see this high on the list, but 141 games played. He definitely played for you guys. And then the other
Huh.
safety on this list is down at 7. Um,
Rodney
another large
Harrison, is he
that
is he the guy further down?
that
Yeah.
would be number 7, Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, number 3 is a safety, and again,
Yeah.
not a guy that I would think would be number 3 on this list, but he's
That's a
here.
tough. We might loop back to that. So I have no strikes still. Um
Are we gonna count the Asante Samuel strike or no?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Yes, that
One
is a
strike.
strike. That one strike then. Okay. Um, man, Willie McGinnis is now out because he was drafted, I think, in '96, so he
Yep.
doesn't make a lot of sense to guess. I don't think Junior Seau played with us long enough to like crack a list like this, but he just feels like a guy who probably
Did
got
he
a lot of
play
tackles.
that late post 2000?
No, it would have been a couple years post 2000. Like
Okay.
he would have joined somewhere in the early 2000s and left like 04, oh
I
five.
honestly forget he played for you guys, to be honest.
Um, hmm. I don't think Ty Warren can be here. I'm cheating. I'm looking at my posters, but I've guessed everyone on my
I
posters.
mean, it is what it is. If I'm going to ask the question, you can use your resources and your league.
Everyone on my posters, I've pretty much said Ty Warren isn't here. Man, I'm really tempted to say a name, but God, I feel like it's a stupid guess. Oh, but he had so many tackles when he played. Could Jamie Collins be here? There's no way. Oh, it's so tempting. I'm gonna
I
say
don't know.
Jamie Collins. Is Jamie Collins here?
He's not, unfortunately.
Damn.
He's just off. He's number 13 on this
I
list.
see. He was one of those guys who was so good when he was here that I was like, man, he could be.
Yeah, he
Um,
just falls. He's just 21 tackles off of tying our 10th guy
okay. I'm
in
gonna use my.
about 30 less games.
So I've gotten 4 right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna use my last hint here. However you want to frame this, however you want to do it,
Oh,
because the
that's a
cornerback
great.
help didn't help me at all.
Yeah, so there is. I want to see. Is there active guys on this list? I'm pretty sure he's an active Patriot, from what I know. There is a guy that is active in the league, just not as a player.
Okay. I think I
There
know that
is
guy now.
there is the number 10 guy is an active Patriot currently. He's an active DB. Your
Ooh.
defensive tackle, I think it. Well, there you go. I just gave you the position of the defensive lineman, defensive
Mm,
tackle.
okay.
But there is 2 names there, so be tricky on which one you're going to guess.
Okay.
And then after that, I mean, you're down to you still got one other notable. Well, actually, remember that first hit where you're like, I think I know who that is. Times it by
Mhm.
2. There's 2 of them that are active in the league, but not as players.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think I
Just
get
handed
both
you
of those
those
now.
2, but
Yeah, Mike Vrabel's here.
that he is.
Okay. Um, and then Mr. Gerard Mayo.
That he is, yes.
Yeah.
Gerard Mayo
He
is also
shorter
here.
stint in New England than you might think to be on a list like this.
Yeah, you know what's even crazier? Number 2
Number 2,
on this
dang.
list, Gerard
Yeah.
Mayo. 536 tackles in 103 games.
Yeah, I knew he didn't play. He wasn't like one of these guys like Teddy Bruschi who played 10 years for the Patriots. Whew, that's why I'm kind of shocked. Like Hightower isn't higher on the all-time list. I had a name when you said D tackle. It's got to be Vince Wilfork, right? There's no way it's not Vince Wilfork.
It is Vince Wilfork. I was like, I'm curious if he's going to toss to Richard Seymour there, but it is Vince
Yeah,
Wilfork.
Richard Seymour was more of a defensive end than he was D
Fair.
tackle.
Fair
He
enough.
could slide around. Okay, so I'm missing 2 active guys, huh?
You're missing. Is he active? I don't think he's active.
Oh no, you said okay, active in the league. I'm confusing that. Okay, so we have a
Yeah.
cornerback who's active on the team.
Yeah, and then a guy who played 1 year elsewhere in the middle of his career, but played in New England the rest of his time. Another guy that kind of went and came back.
That's
that played,
now you're narrowing it down for me.
Yeah, right. That's your safety. That's surprising me that he's number 3 on this list.
So I don't think I'm gonna get that safety. That safety's so tempting.
And then there's a DB at the 9 spot too that you haven't gotten. So you've already taken the lead with the Wilfork answer. So
JC Jackson's. It's got to be JC Jackson's the active guy, right?
It is not JC Jackson.
Okay, there's 3. There's my 3 strikes. But who is the active guy? That
way,
Asante Samuel. Oh no, that was my second one.
Yeah, I was like, wait, did you have? No, you did have a third. Jamie Collins was the third.
Oh, Jamie Collins. Yeah, Jamie. Yep, there we go. Okay.
Look at these guys keeping track of stuff. All right. So your guys not on the list here, right? You got McCourty, you got Mayo at 1 and 2. Patrick Chung at number 3.
Oh, I didn't even think about Patrick Chung. He's a longtime Patriot too.
Just not a guy that I would think would be third, though, right?
He's just played a long time, right? Like he's been on the team, what, 9 years, 8 years?
Yeah, 141 games played, puts him second amongst the top 10 guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Third behind Wilfork and McCourty.
I kept thinking Duggar and who's the other guy that kept coming to my mind? Jabril Peppers. I was like, no way, it's either of them. That's why I gave up on it quick.
Smart. Teddy Bruschi at 4, Mike Vrabel at 5, Hightower at 6, Wilfork at 7, Rodney Harrison at 8, which you got all those guys outside of Chung. Kyle Arrington was our 9 spot, the other guy you didn't get. And then Jonathan Jones at 10 is your active DB.
Jonathan Jones. Oh, Jonathan Jones. Yeah,
the guy that you've held and was playing alongside JC Jackson the whole time. Again, the list outside of this, again, I could see a lot of names coming up, and I wish I would have noticed. I would have probably used the Pro Football Focus one. Who would have thought stat users was like, oh, we just don't track. How do you not track tackles for 2001? Yeah. Like, look at another site. Just pull Football References if you have to.
So you want to know some interesting fact here about Kyle Arrington? He's the reason we won the Super Bowl. If he didn't play like garbage during the Seattle Super Bowl, Malcolm Butler never would have came in and made that game-winning interception. So
there you go. Merry Christmas.
The knock on Kyle Arrington is he was a great corner, and then someone would get one catch on him, and then the guy would just come unglued, and then they were like, "We gotta pull him.
Pull this guy.
Play the kid from Western Alabama. We don't care. We can't play like Jermaine Kearse made 3 catches on him. It's over. His night's done."
Number 11 on this list, Rob Ninkovich, just outside the top 10.
It's a good.
So again,
he's one of those guys that's like hybrid on that line, isn't he? Because he started pre-2000 a little bit, didn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, let's pull him up.
He might have started early 2000s.
Yeah, no, he was 09 to 16 with you guys. Oh, wow.
Wow, I was way off. Okay.
Yeah, he played in New Orleans for a year and then Miami for 2 years before getting to you guys. But to run through just see the notable names you might have missed here. Ninkovich, Ty Warren was at 12. Jamie Collins, Jawan Bentley, Richard Seymour, Asante Samuel, Kyle Van Noy, and Ty Law. Kyle Duggar, just outside the top 20 already. 22.
Yeah, when you said active guy and you said it was cornerback, if you didn't say cornerback, I would have guessed Jawan Bentley. Jawan Bentley is an underrated middle linebacker in the NFL. Yeah. Whenever I see a middle linebacker list that's like top 10 middle linebackers right now, and I don't see Jawan Bentley on there, I'm like, massively underrated how good Jawan Bentley is.
Yeah, he is, especially playing with Hightower too. Like when you guys run a 3-4, like
Hightower is not on the team anymore.
Is he not?
No.
Did he retire?
He retired. Yeah,
that's why when he was playing next to him.
He didn't play last year, even. I don't think. Oh, maybe he played. Yeah, because he sat
He
out
sat out the
COVID
COVID
year
year, played a year, and then
and then
retired.
retired. Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Ready to talk some headlines?
Let's do some. Let's jump into some headlines here.
Did you update your score? Hold on, I gotta update this before I forget.
I did not. How
I
many did I
closed
get
the tab.
right? 7.
I think you got, was it 7 or 8? God dang it. Well, you start talking about headlines. I'll figure that part out.
Okay, I'm gonna just type it as if I got 7 right, and you can fix it.
Okay.
First headline I got is one that we talked a lot about in the preseason here. Sam Darnold is set to start for the San Francisco 49ers.
So
Brock Purdy is in
concussion
concussion
protocol.
protocol. Thank you. I don't know why I was going to blank on the C word there, but he's on concussion protocol here. So Sam's going to get the start. I know a lot of analysts are sitting here like the 49ers aren't going to miss a beat. They're not going to be bad. I kind of agree with them here. This is one of the few
Yeah.
times that I'm going to be very with the grain of the main media of like this. I don't think this makes the San Francisco, like if you ask me right now, does this change the Super Bowl odds? I would say 0%. Like
It doesn't.
I think Sam Darnold's a more talented quarterback, and I think now he's had time to play in the San Francisco offense for a little bit, and I think this might be one of those games that, yeah, I mean, maybe Brock Purdy misses 2 games and never gets a starting job back.
Yeah, I
Like
remember
that's
that was
crazy
your
to say. That was
that's one
my
of your
thing.
takes at the beginning of the
Yeah,
season. That's why I was so excited to talk about this with you. And like I think Purdy's gotten a lot of, I can't believe like I'm about to say it. Purdy's gotten a lot of unnecessary flack the last 2 weeks because they're like
yes.
Brock Purdy when he doesn't have his all pro roster surrounding him. The first game, yeah, I'll agree with you, right? He played a bad game. The last one, he played a really good game up until they tried the tush push, which is funny. Tush push might get banned because he got the concussion during that play. He was going over the top of the line, got helmet to helmet contact. From then, he went 0 for 3 with 2 picks, cost him the game against Minnesota on Monday night. So a rough end for Purdy. I do think he's gotten a lot of unnecessary flack. I understand that the memes are funny. It's real cool.
Yeah,
But
I mean, here's the reason he's gotten the flack, and it's nothing to do with Brock Purdy. So I
yeah,
kind of agree with you, like defending him here a little bit. It has everything to do with the fact that one week the national media is like, "Oh, is Brock Purdy in the MVP
MVP
conversation?"
conversation.
And I say the national media, we talked about it, but we were both like, "There's no way this guy can ever win MVP."
Yeah, it's
And
going
then
to have
he
to be a
has,
perfect storm.
and then he loses 2 games straight, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Wow, why would we ever say that? Wow, all
Yeah,
the hype is dead."
yeah, you want to. The national media's been doing a lot of that lately. They've been doing it around my quarterback as well. Stephen A's been real frustrating me with that stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with Darnold. I swear to God, Tim, if Brock Purdy doesn't touch the field again this year because Sam Darnold's killing it, I might just drive to your house and just beat you up because that'd be 2 years in a row where you've gotten just a ridiculous prediction right. Last year was the Jags. I guess the year before it was the Eagles.
Eagles
So
before that,
if
yeah.
Darnold starts the whole year and takes off and Purdy doesn't start, I swear to God, I'm
I
gonna,
I
come to
just
your house and find the sports almanac you've been hiding.
and we talk about it all the time of like where you get drafted matters, right? So Sam
True.
Darnold, think about the situations he's gone through, right? An abysmal situation in the New York Jets, right? We've seen that they cannot get young quarterbacks right. And then he goes
Adam
to
Gase.
Carolina, which ended up being like the graveyard for his draft class of quarterbacks because Baker ended up there. Baker didn't have any success. Sam couldn't have any success with that team. Sam did have a little bit of success, right? We saw
3-0.
his talent shown through. They started off 4-0. So they were 3-0.
3-0.
Okay.
And then they
Um,
went, I think they went 4-12.
4-12 the rest of the year, right? So like
Yeah.
we've seen him have success when the system is around him. And I think, like, realistically, I really believe this that in San Francisco, he's going to step in and he's going to play just as well as Brock Purdy, if not better, because his talent is better.
So my question is now, like, how well does he have to play for him to lock the starting job out, right? So say Purdy clears concussion protocol this week, he's back practicing next week. Like, is there a single game performance he can put up to like be like, nah, Purdy's not coming back in? I don't know if there's a single game.
I don't know. I was about to say, I don't think there's a single game. I think he would have to, like, Purdy would have to miss 2 weeks. Like, I don't know. The Bengals are a legit team. So, like, if he runs it, oh, nice. My camera is
Bye,
literally right
Cameron.
next to
See
it.
you later. I
Um,
didn't want to look at you anyways.
there it goes.
Maybe.
Maybe. But no, I think realistically there isn't one for him. I I don't think it's there. As much as I wish there was one. Yeah, I think he'd have to play 2 games and have to win 2 games by a large, like blow teams out of the water. Like it would have to be substantial, crazy how good he plays. So
Yeah. When is their bye week? Is their bye week coming up?
I don't know.
Oh, it might be. It's not this week. They play this week. It's next weekend. So may not line up right because I think their bye week falls in the second week of where Darnold would need a game, and
Game.
Purdy's going to be back within 3 for sure.
Okay,
So
let me put it like this. If Sam Darnold goes 30 for 42 and throws for 355, I don't know how you don't make him the starter.
I don't know. Like
Because we've never seen Purdy have that type of game where it's just sheer and utter dominance and shreds a defense, right?
and I think how it happens is really the most important part
Yeah.
because we've seen Purdy put up numbers, but like you look at the clips afterwards, it's a lot of 4-yarders to CMC that turn into 25-yarders, and not that I don't want to hold that against Brock Purdy. He can't. Kyle Shanahan's the play caller, right? If he wants to call wide receiver or running back screen 19 times a game, Purdy's going to throw it 19 times a game. I think I hate that comparison and that talk when people are, all he does is throw screens. I'm like, you do realize he doesn't call the plays. If Kyle Shanahan thinks Christian McCaffrey catching a screen 10 times a game helps them win the game, they're going to throw the screen 10 times a game, So if the playbook opens up, that's what signals it for me. Like if they're starting to take shots, deep shots down the field, maybe we start having a conversation here. But what is Purdy's trade value then? Darnold steals the starting spot, never gets it back. Got to be
a first, third? Probably.
Yeah, I was like, it's got to be pretty. It's higher than a fourth.
Yeah, I would say anywhere from a first to a second. I would think. I mean, the question is there a team that needs him right now? The only team you could argue is like the Jets, right? You bring him onto the Jets, and that situation gets significantly better. But besides that, I don't think there's a team out there that would actually even think about it, right?
Carolina. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Like Carolina, like what does that do? That doesn't really solve their quarterback problem because Purdy's going to have to get paid after next year. Probably will want the extension next year. So, because he's under contract this year, next year, but he's going to want the extension after this season. So,
before.
It's just not a very realistic situation. I don't know who would want to make
I know a spot. The only issue is their quarterback just got paid. The New York Giants could use I think Brian Dable could turn that guy into a Pro Bowler real quick.
Well, and you could take Brock Purdy. You could trade for a Brock Purdy and then keep Daniel Jones and him for a year, and then Daniel Jones' contract is out. You know what I mean? Like
it'll be up before you have to pay Purdy. Yeah, that's
before you have to pay Purdy. So like that's not a crazy situation, I don't think. But I don't think they'll trade Purdy. I think if anything, they would hold him until the offseason in case Darnold got hurt. Because this is the great part about San Francisco's situation. They're in a no-lose situation here because if what everyone believes is correct, which I think it is, that Sam Darnold is going to be as good, if not better, than Brock Purdy, then San Francisco's got either the best backup or, Sam Darnold doesn't play as well and he's still a serviceable backup for him and they don't hurt their playoff. Like the fact that they brought Sam Darnold in, he's so much better than not Josh Dobbs. Why do I want to call him Josh
Trey
Dobbs?
Lance?
Nope, not Trey Lance either. Who started the playoff game for him last year?
For the Niners? Josh Johnson.
Yeah. Josh Johnson. So much better than Josh
Johnson.
Didn't
start a game, but had to come in.
Came in in the NFC Championship game. Yeah, sorry. But point being is like that's already so much of an upgrade that, if one of these guys gets hurt and the other's your starter, you're in a great spot. So I don't know. I think if let's say he throws for 450 and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, duh.
How do you put that guy back on the bench, right? Like
I agree with that, but at the same time, how do you look at a kid that's what
lost 2 games?
Lost 2 games in a row, but lost 1 game before that? It was the NFC title game after, he went down and then he was throwing with his left hand in the second half.
I don't even know if I count that as a loss, but I don't know.
Other than that, does he have another loss as a starter other than obviously these last 2 weeks? Like, did they lose a game earlier in the year? They don't have 3 losses.
No, they've only lost 2 this year, but I think he lost a game when he took over for Lance.
Not as a starter last year. He was 10-0 as a starter last year. So These last two up until these last 2 games, he hasn't lost a game. So that's the other argument is like,
I mean, maybe not, but maybe it takes a more serious injury down the road from Brock Purdy. Maybe Sam Darnold plays really well, and then he gets some kind of thumb injury, and they're like, you know what, Brock, we're gonna let you sit. We want you fully healthy, and then it gives Sam
yeah,
Darnold 2 more weeks. And honestly, Sam Darnold could play so well in a short stint that he gets a job somewhere else next year.
true. And the bye week's coming up, right? Maybe Darnold has that great game, and they're like, quarterback competition. We got a week to figure this shit out. Who knows?
I really don't think it's insane. So it's gonna be. San Francisco wasn't very interesting to watch necessarily. Like there isn't like, oh, are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to win that division? Now they're interesting. Now it's like, oh, if Sam Darnold plays well, like they've got a 2 quarterback situation, which is just so fascinating to me. So
Yeah.
I'm more rooting for that just because the NFC right now is like the most boring conference to talk about because it's like
just a 2-team race.
Because everyone's like, just as everyone thinks the Lions are legit, they get their doors blown off by the Ravens. And so we're just back to the same old where we're like, so is it Philly or San Francisco this year?
Yeah.
And Philly hasn't looked as good as they looked last year, if we're being fully honest with ourselves, but they're playing well when they need to play well. So
yeah, they're still winning games. That's what everyone's like, oh, are we worried about the Eagles? So I was like, the bottom line is they're still winning. So no.
So it's interesting. Did you know that Jalen Hurts at this point of the year has already thrown more interceptions than he threw all of last year?
That doesn't surprise me. But he probably only threw 4 or 5 last year total. I feel like he had such a low interception total last year. People love to. Well, I'm not saying that you're doing that. People love to throw that stat, and they're like, because a guy has a crazy year, will throw 3 picks. And he has 1 bad game. Like he's already thrown more picks than last year.
I want to say it's a lot. It's more than you want to think it is, if I'm being honest. Because his PPR, he's thrown 8 interceptions so far this year.
That's not good because we're in week 10. We're a week ahead.
No, we're in week.
We're not to the deadline. What am I talking about?
Yeah, the deadline is next week, but we're in week. We're not even on that week. What week are we on? Why am I blanking? What week is this? This is week 8. Yeah, we're on week 8. Yeah,
it's a pick a game.
It is crazy. Yeah, last year he threw. Okay, sorry, I was 1 off. Last year he threw 9 interceptions. He's already thrown 8 this year.
Yeah.
So he's very close to that total, which is it's kind of surprising, honestly. Like when I heard it, I was like, "Is that true? Is that right?" But yeah, he's not taking care of the ball. And then of course they just beat up on Miami this last week to like further solidify how legit of a team they are too.
Yeah, this year's been so confusing. The second you feel like you have a team figured out, they're like, yeah, 2 of these, buddy. Fuck off.
So it's really interesting to me, and I kind of talked about this on my solo episode, which you didn't listen to. But
can't deny it. I'm not going to.
The NFC has really good teams with questionable quarterbacks. The AFC has amazing quarterbacks with questionable
teams. That's a good point.
It's like so weird because it's like you look at the line, even the Lions. We'll call the Lions the 3rd best team in the NFC, which I think is about right. Right? I don't think
I couldn't tell you another one off the top of my head.
I mean, maybe you want to sit here and say like, oh, it would have to be like Seattle or somebody, right?
Dallas.
Dallas. Okay, Dallas is a fair point. I always forget Dallas because they're the same division as Philly, but like you look at that and you go, yeah, but the team is good, but the quarterback is good, kind of. Maybe
play should be good, not
play
great.
Should be good, but like has great weapons around. Sam Laporta's looked like a beast. Jahmyr Gibbs is finally starting to play good.
That was my trial of the week. Last week I won a fantasy game with Travis Kelce and tight end Sam Laporta in my flex. I was like, nice. Let's go. That's how depleted my bench was last week. Still got the win.
So sad, but like, yeah, I would agree. I was completely blanking on the good old Dallas Cowboys there, but like again, a really amazing roster. Not really sure what the quarterback is. So that is the story of the NFC. And then it's like you look at the top 5. I mean, top 5 teams in the AFC: Kansas City, Mahomes, Miami. Like you could call maybe Tua a question mark, but he's done nothing but.
He's played great.
He's played great when he plays. So it's just more of an injury question because when he played last year, he played really. I mean, we were talking about him for MVP last year before he got banged up. So You have Lamar Jackson, who is probably your MVP frontrunner at this point, I would say. I don't think that's crazy.
Cincinnati is your key example of what you're talking about in the AFC. Great
Yeah,
quarterback.
terrible team around him. You have the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, and then you have Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. And it's
Yeah.
like, you look every week, you're like, oh man, Calvin Ridley, what an ad. And then it's like, no, it's still Christian Kirk and Zay Jones catching a lot of balls for Jacksonville. And you're like,
Yeah,
weird.
I'm gonna hunt Calvin Ridley down. Maybe look like an idiot.
I bought into the hype too. I think you and I
I
both were
I
victims.
started the hype, dude. I was like,
was
forget
so
what anybody. I
good.
was like, I felt so confident about that in my thought process.
Did
of
we
it.
get 2 years or 1 year of peak Julio with Calvin Ridley? It was 2 years, right? Or
2
was it
years?
only
Yeah,
one? Yeah.
2.
And that he was so good in that. And I was like, man, when he breaks off and has his solo season and then the whole gambling thing happened and then gets traded, and I'm like, maybe this is comeback year because I thought he was special. Like
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was a
I still think he
stud.
is. Yeah.
Or I'm like, okay, fine. You can't be the one receiver. Christian Kirk's the one. Be a good
Yeah.
two.
And we dogged on the Christian Kirk signing, and he's done nothing but year after year show Christian Kirk might be a top 20 receiver in the NFL, and we don't talk about him like it. Like, it's
Yeah,
insane. He's had
yeah.
2 great production years for Christian Kirk, and it's just no one likes it. No one because
Yeah,
everyone was like, "Yeah, he's not good," and
it's
then
the
it's like
optics
he
of the
is good.
contract. Yeah, everybody was like, he's a top 4 paid receiver.
It's so weird when we sit here, yeah, and it's like you look back at it, you're like, I would take the production that they got for
I
paying
would
him.
take him in Baltimore right now in a heartbeat.
Yeah, there's some teams that have made some trades for wide receivers or signed wide receivers that are like, if he was producing like Christian Kirk right now, we wouldn't be so upset with this. So
True, it's a very true statement.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say he's top 10 because it's just there's no way he's top 10. It's so hard to squeeze him into the top 10.
There's a lot of talented receivers in this game.
Because I think the top 3 are pretty set. I think at this point, I think it would be kind of hard to argue the top 3.
I'm trying to think of who 3 would be.
Justin Jefferson, I think without question is obviously wide receiver 1. Tyreek Hill is wide receiver 2.
Yeah, those are the 2 that definitely came to my head.
AJ Brown, in my opinion, is wide receiver 3. He's done nothing but just be a monster.
Definitely the year he's had.
You could argue Jamar Chase, but it's kind of hard to put him there with only 1 great year of production, and then this year's kind of been so-so.
He's been down.
And it's not really his fault. I think the team is just down. But I think those 3 are a tier above the next 3. Because if you said, hey, you're starting a team with a wide receiver, you get one of these 3 guys, I go, I don't really care if I pick 1 or pick 3 because it's like I'm ended up with somebody I really, really love.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. Justin Jefferson is special, but I wouldn't be. You can't cry over I got Tyreek Hill or AJ.
Yeah, I was like, shit, I got Tyreek Hill.
I got Tyreek Hill. Damn it! It's like
I'm so mad.
Yeah, I think those guys are 3, but I just don't think by the time it's like, then you think about Diggs, and then you got Devontae Adams, and then it's like you start digging, you're like, okay, then you got to put DK probably in the
talent-wise. I was like, talent-wise, no, Christian Kirk's not there. I would not be surprised if production-wise he's there at this point.
So, all right, we spent a long time on that topic, but it was a good conversation. I'm glad we got to have it. This has been an interesting one. Clearly, the Titans are in sell now mode. Will Levis is set to start for them next week. Don't know if you saw that, but yeah, Tannehill is hurt, so Will Levis is going to go out there and start. They traded Bird. What's his first name? It starts with a K. Their safety.
You said who? Oh, Kevin Byard.
Kevin Byard. Thank you. I said Bird, but yeah, Kevin Byard. They traded him to Philadelphia. And so clearly they're sellers. They're going to start their young guy. This team is not going to make the playoffs this year, I think is safe to say. I think they're 3rd in that division. Yes, they're 3rd in that division.
Yeah, behind Houston, yeah.
Yeah. So that team is clearly not in a spot where they're gonna do anything this year. They're definitely going to be sellers. I think Derrick Henry is a really interesting trade piece because if you're going to go into a rebuild, which it seems like they are, he's your most valuable asset. The question is somebody going to give up what you're going to need to get back for him? Or is what somebody's going to give up worth it, in your opinion, to give up a Derrick Henry? The most interesting one that I heard, go ahead.
I don't think anybody's going to be able to pay the price that they want. You know what I'm saying? It won't be worth it, I don't think. The other thing that adds a layer to it is he's in a contract year. So whoever trades for him is going to have to turn around and pay him next year. He's 29. And I wouldn't say he's been on he's been on a bit of a decline, but he missed half
Yeah.
the year last year and he just hasn't been the best running back. It's not like he's been bad this year. He just hasn't been the best running back in football like he has been the last couple of years.
There's two really interesting places to me or three actually that I really, really like. Baltimore is on that list.
Yeah.
Just somebody to take some of that workload. Like they fixed the wide receiver core. Like if you're Baltimore, do you trade a first right now for Derrick Henry, even if it's only for a season?
Ooh, that's tough.
Like obviously only a season's guaranteed. Maybe you don't pay him. Maybe they find like, okay, he's going to be
Tag
cheap
him for a year.
Tag him for a year. You're going to get 2 years of production. I don't think you can actually tag a guy
After
that
trading
you
for him?
trade for.
Maybe.
I think he
Possibly.
has to be on your roster for like at least a full season before you can tag him. Could be making that up. I could be dead wrong.
I would say yes. There is a running back that I would want more, but I don't know if he's going to be available.
And
Josh
then
Jacobs
Saquon,
is
they're not.
no.
Okay.
Josh Jacobs has been floated, and I would kind of prefer Josh Jacobs just for the age of it, really.
Yeah.
But there's been no official talks of whether that was going to happen. I will tell you for a second rounder, yes, in a heartbeat. The first rounder, I still might say yes, but I'm definitely hesitant about it.
Okay.
But
second and let's call it like a fourth.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Even if you told me he wasn't going to resign, I think I'd probably give that up now. You want to talk about the most dangerous backfield in the NFL? Like,
yeah,
that should open up so many passing lanes. The amount, just a Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson read option. Can you imagine the nightmares you'd have on Saturday nights about thinking about that? Like,
it makes them a really interesting team, especially in the AFC, because like we've seen what beats Mahomes, and it's controlling the clock, being able to run the football and take control of it.
And surprisingly, we haven't been able to do that great this year. I talked Gus Edwards up, and he's playing like Madden running back right now, where like when he's your second on the depth chart, you bring him in, you're like, why is this guy ripping 8 yards a carry? And then the second, you're like, all right, I'm going to trade this guy out, or the first guy gets hurt. Now he's starting, and Justice Hill is the guy making explosive plays, and Gus has kind of been letting me down. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'd be really like, ugh. Go ahead.
The second interesting team in mine is Buffalo. Buffalo is the one that everyone talks about. James Cook has looked serviceable, but he hasn't looked special. So I think Buffalo makes sense. And the third team I had, and I heard this morning from Eric Mangini on The Herd, which I think is not normally somebody I listen to, but it was an interesting idea. The Cowboys, trade him to the Cowboys, because as much as everyone hyped up Tony Pollard, he's been disappointing, I think, for what everyone's expectations
for the
of him
expectations. Yeah, he's had a good year, but
if there was this team that was set up to, okay, he wouldn't be the full-time back, right? He wouldn't have to be. Pollard could go back to the role that he had, which was, hey, I'm going to come in on third down and special situations and kind of take some load off of it. But goal line carries, it just, you literally plug Derrick Henry into what the Zeke role was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Hey, on first down, if we run it, you're getting it. And if it's the goal line, you're not coming out.
Yeah. I'd love to get freaky on the goal line, put both of them back there, put Derrick Henry at fullback, see a jump pass. Who knows? Like, you get real scary there. And
Wildcat formation.
Yeah, the other thing that makes that interesting is they haven't really gotten a lot of great production at running back outside of Pollard. They were kind of hoping, maybe Deuce would step up and take that spot. I can never remember the other guy's name that, they were looking to be the RB2 there, but they haven't got a lot of great production behind Pollard yet.
They cut the Tampa Bay. They cut Ronald Jones, right?
Yeah, they cut Ronald Jones. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
It's somebody else that I honestly didn't know was on their roster, but one of the training camp guys that all the Cowboys fans were in love with. But they haven't got a lot of great production behind Pollard, so it's definitely an interesting idea. Outside of that, you start to get into a lot of swaps. Maybe I think the team isn't in the best spot, and they're handling, the Kirk Cousins issue of his contract. But Minnesota's been worse for wear without Dalvin Cook. But again, that team, I just don't think that part of it lines up.
They're not in a position where you even think about trading a first or a second rounder, because you might sneak in as a wild card team, which we'll talk about them a little bit later. Yeah. But there's a chance that you have a top 15 pick, and you don't risk those on a guy like Derrick Henry to try to save a season like this.
Oh,
This is
I
a
just
team that's
yeah.
and I think the Chiefs aren't in a exactly same position, but they're in a spot where they need so much that you're not going to give up assets for a guy like Derrick Henry because he doesn't fix your problem.
No,
Like
yeah.
he's not the kind of guy that you go out and add.
Yeah. Just send him to Detroit. Just put
Yeah,
Jahmyr Gibbs farther down on the bench. That's fine. Yeah.
yeah. Because
I
there's some more realistic names that I think like you'll see October 31st. So we got 5 days. Um, and I think there's going to be some more
Is that the
realistic
deadline?
names out there. Yeah, it's the 31st.
Holy hell, we are
Yeah.
right up on it.
That's why we're talking about it because, yeah, I think some pieces that would be interesting to get moved. I mean, Chase Young is always on this list. I don't know if it'll ever actually happen.
Apparently, more teams have been interested in trying to get Montez Sweat from them than Chase Young in the last
Yeah.
2 weeks,
And they're
which
not trading Sweat.
isn't super surprising, just given
No.
Chase's injury history.
Yeah, you're trying to revitalize a career with someone like him. And obviously both the Denver wide receivers could be traded. It's just what somebody going to
I
give up
think
for him.
I think Judy will, to be honest, just
Yeah.
with especially with how Monday Night Football played out a couple weeks back and the things that have been happening in his career. But yeah, and I think Indy's such a great spot for him. I remember somebody said Indy for Jerry Judy. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
if there's ever a spot where he could.
They probably won't trade for someone like Jerry Judy because it's probably going to be a first or a second. And
I
again,
would
they're not
if
going to
they
give up.
if they want a first for Jerry Judy, he's not getting traded. I can tell you that.
I think that's probably what the asking price is going to be. I mean, Hollywood Brown went for a first. I think Jerry Judy is not as good, but I think he's in that. He's close to that category. I'm not even a Jerry Judy guy. I'm not even one of these guys who
I
stand
am.
here.
I am a
Yeah.
Jerry Judy guy, and that's the surprising part of
I
this.
just think that's what a young wide receiver with like we could fix that kind of mentality is going to be going for a late first. Like I think the most one of the more interesting realistic guys to get moved is Hunter Renfrow.
Oh,
I think
100%.
you're going to see like the Chiefs trade for Hunter Renfrow and he's going to all of a sudden put up some production in the second half of the season. He's just buried in Oakland is his issue right now.
I don't even think he's buried. I just think Josh McDaniels isn't really getting it to him. Like,
Well, but the issue is for him is he's in a system where he's behind Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, who is a Josh McDaniels guy.
yeah,
Right?
that's the
Like,
issue. Because
yeah.
personally, in my opinion, and I don't think it's not like a slam dunk thing. It's okay for people to disagree. I think Hunter Renfro's better than Jacoby Myers is, in my opinion. I think and it depends on the completely different skill sets. And I think the issue there is you already have such a great route runner, Devontae. Why not put a physical guy across from him instead of another route runner like Hunter Renfro? But yeah, the worst news for the Chiefs is that they're in division and they're probably not going to get Hunter Renfro. But
I don't
I'll
know. They might.
tell you this. If Hunter Renfro lands anywhere close to Sean McVay, I will end it all. I'm going to lose it.
I don't think they're not going to be buyers. I mean, Hunter Renfro's price is going to be low, right? Like he's going to be like a guy who's getting traded for like a third or a fourth, probably.
I would take Hunter Renfro in Baltimore in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
Bring him
doesn't
on.
make any sense. Why would Baltimore trade for a guy like that?
I would trade Rashad Bateman for him right now.
But yeah, I think wide receiver wise, there was somebody else.
I mean, Cortland Sutton's been tossed around here and there too.
Yeah, I think I said. Did I not say both of the?
You said the two
Denver
guys.
receivers. Yeah. That's kind of who I meant by that was the two Denver guys.
If I'm Carolina, I'd call Vegas right now and get. I don't think Hunter Renfro's a one by any stretch, but you are in dire need of production, and he's a guy to me that translates to any offense because route running is always pertinent, right? Like speed, you can't always rely on speed. Route running will always get you open. If you run him well enough, and he does, he'll be open, And I think, and again, trying to break the 0-6 streak, trying to get a win, trying to build confidence in a young quarterback, what do you go to? Rhythm and timing, all right? Rhythm and timing, get the ball out quick. That is going to be a guy that is in and out of his cuts. He's going to be right where Bryce Young needs him to be at the right time. To me, that makes a lot of sense. But he definitely needs to get out of Vegas. He is way too talented to be as sorely misused as he is right now. And again, it's not a whole Vegas thing. To me, I think he's better. But again, like I said, it's not a slam dunk thing. I'm okay with people disagreeing.
There's another wide receiver. I'm trying to look up and see who it was that I thought was.
You think of a team?
Interesting. I don't remember who it was. I mean, I've been seeing Kendrick Bourne a lot from New England,
If you guys sell.
which I think they might, but I don't think they're going to sell a guy like him because it's like, why would you trade the
He's been the only productive guy for you.
and he's been hit or miss, but like, why would you trade that guy?
He's finally, like you've been waiting for him to be productive, and then 8 games after it starts, you're like, yeah, see you later, guy.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Like, yeah, it's like that's not something that they will trade.
T. Higgins still in the
No,
trade talks at all?
He hasn't been. Yeah, I see. Hunter Renfrow. I swear there was another name that I saw that was a wide receiver that I thought was like, it's like, yeah, that guy. I mean, there's a lot of DeAndre Hopkins talk too, but there was another guy who was like, yeah, this guy was good a couple years ago. Like he just is buried on a depth chart now, and nobody thinks of him. But
Cole Beasley is a free agent.
Yeah, no, not Cole. Okay. We're running a little behind here, so we won't even talk about Kyler Murray because he is going to play. So I'm just going to skip that one. I want to talk a little college football here.
How about it?
And I think this is an interesting one. I know we normally don't talk college football, but I think this is NFL related enough.
It is.
USC lost their 3rd game,
I
want to say, for the season. And there's a lot of talks about, they're pretty much out of the playoffs. They have Oregon and Washington left, I want to say, and UCLA. So there's a lot of talks they're going to lose one of those games as well. Caleb Williams probably not winning a Heisman at this point either. A lot of interesting conversation around whether he should just sit it down and sit the rest of the season. I think it's a bad thing to do as a teammate. Very like looking out, self-preservation type thing. But I think it's an interesting conversation. If you're him, you're guaranteed to be probably a top 2 pick, right?
Yeah, you're guaranteed 2.
You're guaranteed 2. If he slips to 1, somebody's going up to 2 to get him. So if you're him, what are you really playing for? You're just risking injury or even lowering your draft stock at this point. Do you think there's a downside besides the fact of him being a terrible teammate for his own personal draft stock of not playing? You think NFL teams would be turned off by the fact he didn't play?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think NFL teams give two shits if he sits, to be honest. I think a lot of them would probably be happy that he sat down, to be honest with you. Because I think people think they know what they're getting, right? Which people think they're getting, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and one quarterback, which is physically impossible to do, firstly. As far as should he, I mean, it all depends because remember, nobody has ever taken stock in it, but he's like, maybe I'll come back to school next year. Depends on how serious he is about that. Because if you're going back next year, you can't sit. Yeah. You will not be welcome back in that locker room if you sit the last 3 games. You're like, all right, now I'm back to win a Heisman.
I talked about the clownery that is his dad at the moment. Because all the reports flying around that they were going to ask for ownership stake in his rookie deal.
Oh, yeah.
Was his dad, and his dad not understanding the NFL rules and stuff like that. From what I can tell, it's a lot of his dad just being a dummy.
Sounds about right.
Now, I don't think he'll go back to school. I think that's the one that's probably off the board the most.
I would agree.
I think it's interesting, though, that if Chicago has the number 1 overall pick, he says, I won't go to Chicago. Or fill in the blank of whoever it might be.
He's like, I'm not going to go to Chicago at 1. And they're like, psych, fine, we'll draft you at 2.
Yeah. We passed on you. We got Marvin Harrison Jr. You just cost yourself some money. No, but I do think that is a somewhat real situation of him doing an Eli Manning and John Elway of being like, I'm not playing. I'm playing for this team, or, playing. I'll play for any team but you guys.
I honestly would be kind of surprised if that didn't happen at this point.
I did a whole segment last episode about, I don't think it'll actually be Chicago. I did a whole segment talking about how I think Chicago very well could bring Lincoln Riley up with Caleb Williams and bring the duo in and just try to run.
Talking about getting screwed if you're USC, getting absolutely boned on that one, but it would be a Lincoln Riley move.
The guy who Lincoln Riley replaced, I can't remember his name. He has the same exact record. He was the head coach when
17-5
when Sam Darnold was there. But yeah, the guy has the same exact record as him. So it's like, I don't know if that's really getting that boned.
Fair.
And I think
it's just you're
right. If he was going to make the jump, he's going to make it either this year or next year. He has to.
Yeah, there's no point in waiting.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as Caleb Williams go, I do have to because we haven't talked about Caleb Williams at all. It's not draft season, so I'll get this out there. I do think he is headed towards being one of the larger busts in NFL history, and I think he could still have a pretty good career. I do have a buddy that I was talking to recently about him that thinks he's the next Zach Wilson and thinks he's going to suck. I'm not going to take it that far. I
Yeah.
will tell you that the ungodly expectations that are being put on this kid, they're like, he's just a combination of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I'm like, you realize how absolutely asinine that is as a statement. Like, and I've been having some fun at his expense the last couple weeks, and he threw the 3 picks, and I was like, showing the Josh Allen side tonight, boys. But yeah, I think like I always hate when players get super hyped up because that is comparing any college quarterback to Patrick Mahomes is already such an unfair expectation of a guy to then
Yeah.
throw in the best running quarterback, possibly the best running quarterback of all time, and then a guy that could do what Lamar Jackson does and what Patrick Mahomes does in the same breath. Like, dude, we have got to calm down. Now, trust me, I see the talent. I see it plenty. And my buddy that doesn't like him and thinks he's going to be bad is because of a lot of what Zach Wilson was. Like I remember Brees Hall liked it. You know, I think it was like week 3 or 4 when they were like, "What happened to this Zach Wilson?" And you know, it's a minute clip of him like balling out of BYU, and I was like, "I'm seeing the same thing. The difference is that rolling out of a clean pocket and throwing it 60 yards down the field doesn't work in the NFL. You roll out of a clean pocket, you're going to get beat up by your offensive line."
So I think that comparison's really unfair because the difference is Zach Wilson was doing that against Coastal Carolina,
Yeah,
and he didn't even play well against Coastal Carolina. That was like the only legit team in that conference. Where Caleb Williams doing it on the larger, he did it at Oklahoma, he's doing it at USC, he's doing it on larger stages.
yeah.
And for how bad that team is, he's the only beacon of that team. They have one good wide receiver there too, but
It's him and Lincoln
he's
Riley.
he's the reason they're winning the games that they're even winning. So I don't know if that comparison's really fair. I do think he might be slightly overhyped.
I think he has to be. Like even if he's a better quarterback prospect than Andrew Luck, comparing a kid to Patrick Mahomes at this stage in the game and what Patty's done in the last 5 years,
I think the play styles is similar. I think that's the comparison that they're making.
yeah,
He's going to be a really good improviser. Now, depending on how the rest of the season goes, he might not even be the first quarterback taken.
it's possible.
I think Michael Penix Jr. has a really good chance of passing him.
Which is hilarious because that leaves Drake May out of the conversation too, and that's been the constant two behind
Yeah.
him.
And I think I just don't think Drake May's played well enough to this point where it's going to go like, oh yeah, Drake May. Now he might be one of those guys that maybe he gets in the room and people are like, oh yeah, we love this kid. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I wouldn't throw any of it out. I don't think it's set in stone. I think he should play the rest of the year.
I agree.
Because I think if he sits it down, I think there's a chance Michael Penix or Drake May. If Drake May gets hot and starts playing like crazy, I think it could be very, very bad for Caleb Williams here.
Yeah,
Now, if he doesn't want to play his bowl game, whole nother conversation. But
yeah.
I
Who
think,
cares?
yeah,
Sorry, I don't want to play in the Credit Union Qdoba versus Chipotle Bowl of the Century. I'm not
yeah,
here for it. I'll just before we move quarterbacks draft talk. I hate Bo Nix, regardless of age. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL guy. He could be 21. Doesn't matter. I saw the guy fail against SEC defenses for 3 years. I'm not going to be all of a sudden like, wow, he's lighting up the Pac-12. Like,
better. He was better than people give him credit for in the SEC. I'm gonna say that right now.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I always thought he was overhated. I was like, I don't think this kid's that bad. But like
Yeah.
now, all of a sudden, people are like, is he a second round pick? I was like, all right, it's the Pac-12. Let's yeah.
Okay, that you're gonna regret saying. The Pac-12 might be like it is the second best football conference this year, bar none.
It has nothing to do with the strength of the conference. It's the strength of the defense that they play. He went from
And the defenses are better than some of the Big Ten defenses this year. So
oh,
I
that's
disagree
fair.
with that 100%.
That's fair. Utah might have the best defense in the game outside
Utah
of Georgia.
Utah is such an underrated college football program.
I love Utah. I love Utah.
What's their head coach's name? I'm blanking on it right now. I can see the guy's face. He is going to be a coach at a Power 5 program in the next couple of years.
Kyle Whittingham.
He is going to be, watch out for Kyle Whittingham. He has done great things at Utah. Urban Meyer had a very similar career arc as Kyle Whittingham of like, oh, fix Utah, make Utah great. And then go.
Yeah, dude, they are.
he's going to be coaching. Kyle Whittingham's going to be coaching like one of these programs, and he's going to revitalize like an entire program. Like
I'll give you a full bold prediction. I'll even tell you the team. I think when Brian Kelly finally flames out at LSU, I think he's the guy that gets him back up there.
it
Or you don't
won't
think
be
it's Brian
that
Kelly?
long. No, I think Whittingham might take a job this year, and it won't be. Brian Kelly will still
That's
be there
fair.
for at
Brian,
least 2 years.
that's
I think
fair.
it'll happen faster than that.
Who is it?
Mm,
Because Florida's not getting rid of Billy Napier yet. They haven't been
no,
that bad. They've actually played some pretty good football up to this point. But
it's not going to be Penn State either. I was trying to think. Yeah, Penn State's way
Nick
too
Saban retires. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, something like that. Like I think it is going to be. I don't know. I don't know college football that well. I'm trying to think of like Auburn's coach, and I have like no fucking clue who it is.
I don't think I know either because I'm pretty sure the only head coach I only knew for them
I also,
retired or got
but like
fired.
Jim Harbaugh takes an NFL job and he takes over Michigan. I think that's interesting. Like I think that
I don't want to go down the Jim Harbaugh track. Obviously, like I've been talking a lot of college football with the guys at the radio station. The Michigan sign stealing stuff has been a heavy debate topic
God,
recently.
who cares? Like, get over it. The NCAA just hates Jim Harbaugh.
Like, there are rumors that like people are doing this so he can't jump to the NFL. Like they're trying to set him up.
Yeah, I swear the NCAA hates Jim Harbaugh. I mean, they suspended the guy 4 games for buying a kid a hamburger. Kids are making millions of dollars now, and he bought a kid a hamburger, and they're like, suspend him. That's against our recruiting rules. The NCAA won't exist in 5 years. Who cares what they think?
Yeah, I do agree with what Matt Rule is talking about, like getting technology on the the sidelines.
That was the best way to describe it. It's so he said it so well because he's like, oh, you go to high school football, they use radios. You go to the NFL, they use radios, and here we're holding up boards still, and it's like,
yeah, we're throwing up pictures of Michael Jordan on the sideline for our signals.
It's like, what are we doing? Like, it's literally insane that there are high school programs that are more technologically advanced, and it's like. Yeah, Joel Klatt also had a great spiel on this on the Herd. So if you're interested, like those would be look up what Matt Rule said, look up what Joel Klatt had to say about it. Very interesting. ADs don't want it because it costs more money, and the NCAA doesn't want it because of liabilities, and coaches don't want it because they want to be able to steal each other's signs. So
what do you mean liabilities? Did he dive into that? I can go listen to that.
Yeah. They talked about like extra technology in the helmet and them being liable if like it modifies that. Because the NCAA has more helmets than the NFL does.
Yeah.
Like you can have a wider array of helmets.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
And they didn't want to like have liability insurance that if there's a microphone in there that a quarterback has a brain injury, that's their cover up. But like, it's so stupid.
Has that ever happened at the NFL level? Like,
I mean, the Will Smith movie was all about the lawsuit that the NFL had. But like, again, it's covering.
I don't know that had to do with the microphones of it. But
No, it had nothing to do with the microphones. But the point is to avoid something like that. Which is so dumb, but regardless.
Welcome to the NCAA. It's dumb.
Oh, it's so stupid. I don't think they'll exist soon. Okay, let's jump into pump the brakes here. We're moving at a good pace here, but first one I got for you: the Ravens are a legit Super Bowl team.
You're starting hot today, aren't you?
Yeah. They're the flavor of the week in the AFC.
Yeah, they are.
Changes about every 2 weeks, and they're the flavor this week.
They are, yeah. I'm gonna pump the brakes here. I'm not gonna overreact to the Lions game. The bottom line is this team should be 7-0. Very handedly, should be undefeated, the only undefeated in the team. When you look at the 2 losses that they've had, the fact that we lose a game to Pittsburgh and then go up 28-0 on the Lions before they get a first down with Ben Johnson as their offensive, like that's a talented offense. We were up 28-0 before they got a first down. Like that is your headline of the week from that game. I can't overreact to it because I know how my team plays, and they play up to their competition and they play down to their competition. All right. So to be honest with you, if we walk in as the 7 seed, yeah, we might be a Super Bowl because we'll play up to the Chiefs. We'll play up to the Bills. We'll play up to everybody. God forbid we make the 1 seed. God forbid, actually, that we make the 2 seed and we play whoever scrapes the 7 seed. It'll be New England. We'll lose, and I'll be pissed. But as far as not buying into it, I think I'll have a much more clear answer on this question next week after the trade deadline passes. because I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm around, obviously, of being a fan and being around the team. Like, I have not seen many more trade rumors for one team. Like, is it Brian Burns? Is it Chase Young? Is it Danielle Hunter? Is it Saquon? Is it Derrick Henry? Like, there has
Yeah.
been so many names floating around for us to try to go get. And obviously, we are going to get one, if not none of those guys.
I think you
And
guys end up with a rotational defensive player. Carl
I'd be
Lawson,
okay
I
with
think,
that.
has been the most interesting one, I think, to Baltimore. I think
Yeah.
somebody like him, where it's not a chase, like a bigger name, but like a guy that you're like, okay, I could see this guy playing a
I
role
would rather
somewhere.
have that because I'd like to hold on to the assets a bit more.
Yeah.
And also, like, again, everyone's talking about Brian Burns, Danielle Hunter, Chase Young, right? All three very prominent edge rushers. Guess what? Guess who leads the league in sacks as a team right now?
Ravens.
Baltimore does.
Yeah.
And the other bottom line is that we've got three really talented young guys to pay, and Geno Stone, Patrick Queen, and Justin Matabuke are all up on contracts. Matabuke's got 5.5 sacks in the middle of the defensive line. Or he's playing more edge this year. He's playing great. Pat Queen has been playing like a top 10 linebacker this year. So the Ravens have money issues that they've got to figure out in the
Could you
offseason.
imagine having the two highest paid linebackers on the same team? Like,
Dude.
talk about going against the grain. No one wants to pay middle linebackers. Ravens are like, we got two of the best, two of the highest paid right here.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to do with that situation because everybody wants Geno Stone back. And I'm like, the best case scenario is he's our nickel guy because we have two starting safeties. Like, we're like, Geno Stone's leading the league in picks. He's had a great year. Yeah, he has. Guess what? He's the third best safety on the roster.
How's the one safety you guys took last year or
Kyle
2 years
Hamilton.
ago? Kyle Hamilton. Is he
He's
actually playing good?
He's playing really well. He hasn't been a super stud, like not a Pro Bowl or anything, but been very, very reliable and like is just learning. And
So he's on your list above him.
yeah,
Safety?
he's definitely a better safety. And if nothing else, like, and then we paid Marcus Williams, so like it's gonna be very hard to break into that safety room.
Yeah.
So like I would love to have Geno Stone back, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. Matabuke, I think, is number one on my list. I think I'd rather keep him than Pat Queen because again, I love Pat Queen. Like I said, top 10 linebacker. I don't know if we can afford him is the first bullet point. Secondly, I don't know if I want to afford him next to Roquan Smith. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it makes you can't have two high paid
Yeah.
linebackers like that. It doesn't make any.
Not on the inside. If one of them had some pass rush to him, maybe, or if we ran, yeah.
Yeah, there it just isn't there. Yeah, you're right. Like if somebody could like rush the passer, they're like, it's kind of justified. But
Yeah.
somebody would have to be a 10 sack guy to even think about it. And I don't think either one of them are super capable. I mean, Roquan might. Has he ever had a 10 sack season? Maybe.
No. I mean, he played outside linebacker in Chicago, but it's because they ran a 4-3, which is they ran 3 inside linebackers at that
and then
point.
he ran coverage. Okay.
Yeah, but to answer the question, I'm not going to overreact to the Lions game. I don't think we're contenders yet. I think the trade deadline will give us a really good idea where this team's going to be at. They have improved. Like, it was a very large improvement from Pittsburgh to Detroit. Mm-hmm. So I think, especially 2 weeks from now when we go to that show, after the deadline and another game, now, we're really going to be talking about it.
So I'm going to disagree with you here.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's a win-win for me.
I think I look at the AFC right now, right? And we're talking about teams. Miami has looked explosive, but they've also looked like they get bullied. Physical teams destroy Miami right now. Buffalo has been beat them up.
Kryptonite.
Philly beat them up. Really good defenses, tough teams have just beat them up. What is Baltimore's defense? Tough and physical, right? Like that's a team that you look at and you go, okay, they could beat Miami if they had to go to Miami. I'm not even going to touch Kansas City because I think it's kind of, when I say contender, it's are you going to be able to play Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, right? Like I don't think it's much. You don't have to be better than Kansas City to be.
Not going to have that conversation, yeah.
Jacksonville still feels like they're a year away and a couple pieces away on the defense. So I'm not ready to just say like, yeah, Jacksonville is like definitely better than Baltimore. I liked them better, but I still think Baltimore is better. And really Buffalo, I mean, it depends on, whether Josh Allen, one guy. And that's the issue in Buffalo, right? Is that offense is solely based around him. And
I think they're also they're way too reliant on Stephon Diggs as well. Dalton Kincaid hasn't super panned out yet, but like at the receiver room,
he's had a couple better games. I think he's playing okay.
Yeah, no, Diggs has played great. He's played great, but when he gets taken out of a game, that's when you see Josh Allen struggle, when you take Diggs away, because Gabe Davis is good for 220-yard games a year. Dalton
Yeah.
Kincaid has been meh. Dawson Knox is on IR, and I couldn't name another receiver there. So,
Yeah.
that's where they're kind of at in their offense.
So
But
I just don't think they're in a spot where I could sit here and go, yeah, they're a legit contender, because they struggle against teams they shouldn't struggle. And then you get inside the AFC North, and boy, does that get a really messy conversation. Like that, like if I'm Baltimore, I'm more scared of playing the Browns or somebody like that than I am of playing Miami in the playoffs.
yeah,
I think a Pittsburgh too, I think is like
playing a
because
division rival in the playoffs for us is my worst nightmare by far and
yeah,
away. Firstly, second behind
you might
that
have 3
is
teams in the playoffs. Like, it's not insane to say that, like, because right now, if the NFL season ended today, there'd be 3 teams from the AFC North in the playoffs.
what
It'd
Cleveland
be
the one sitting out.
no, Cincinnati's the one sitting out.
That's actually crazy. I didn't think they were still on the outside like that.
Yeah, so Cleveland at 4-2 would be the 6th seed. Pittsburgh would be the 5th seed at 4-2 as well. So
I give
they've
credit to Mike Tomlin for being 4-2 with a terrible offense and offensive coordinator that he's had to this point.
I don't know how sustainable it is for Pittsburgh. I ultimately think Cincinnati crawls their way back in.
Yeah.
Cleveland is just still a mess. Like Deshaun Watson, who knows
Like
what's
I
going on
said,
there.
I said this at the beginning of the year, and it's probably the most worried I've ever been about saying it, but I'll say it again. Cleveland is going to be Cleveland at the end of the day, and that is definitely ringing true to this point. Like
Cleveland is such an interesting thing too, because you look at their head, you look and you go, oh, offensive head coach, defense has to be the problem. It's like, no, their defense is the solution. Like the
that's the
defense
best.
is the best, and you're like, how can we not like that offense looks more dynamic when PJ Walker is playing quarterback for him than it does with Deshaun Watson. And
That's a
okay,
problem.
that's an issue. Like Deshaun
Yeah.
Watson's getting paid a lot of money. Like if I'm Cleveland, like if I fire Kevin Stefanski at the end of the year, I tell Deshaun Watson, like, do you want Bill O'Brien back? Like,
Who
who
is
do
it?
you want? Yeah,
Yeah.
who is gonna fix this? Because that's really all you're thinking about.
Yeah, I never try to prey on players' downfalls. Definitely never injury wise. I always want good
Yeah.
football, good games, good players. I hope that deal crashes and burns. I hope it blows up in Cleveland's face. Just the situation of when he got paid that fully guaranteed contract was
Can we
enough.
change the way we worded that
Yeah,
real quick?
good.
We hope it blows up in Deshaun Watson's face.
Fair.
Cleveland fans have been through enough where I don't want to like poo poo on Cleveland fans.
I don't want to do it to the fans. I want to do it to the front office. Like
The front office, yeah, the
the
team, like
the
Deshaun, all yeah, that's fine.
256 fully guaranteed and breaking the market the way that they did was something that kind of like
Not
was
even
like
break the market. They just did a one off. Like because if it
yeah,
broke the market, we would have seen
the
guys.
follow-ups.
Joe Burrow would have gotten it. Justin Herbert would have gotten it. Lamar would have gotten it. None of those guys got it. So it was
Yeah.
kind of just this magical land of like, hey, we're gonna just pay this guy to
And
just
again,
get him here.
26 open counts of sexual misconduct when that contract was signed. Wasn't decided in court yet. That's why I wanted to blow up in their front office's face. Because it was one thing to give a guy that deal, to give any guy that deal, let alone Deshaun Watson now, let alone while the court cases are open.
Yeah,
Whole nother thing. But
whole nother mess.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I think they're firmly the second best team in the AFC right now.
I'm okay with that. I would
think
agree with you.
that makes
The
them
issue,
contenders in my mind.
yeah, and again, the only issue I have is like it's the weeks like that Pittsburgh game. I'm like, man, what are we doing?
I view those more as anomalies, and you just have to pray that if you get somebody, they like one. The biggest thing I'm rooting for, if I'm a Baltimore fan, it's one other team from my division makes the playoffs and no one else.
Not to.
Because if
Yeah.
there's two, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And if it's one, I'm hoping it's Cincinnati, and then they just lose to somebody else, and then you never have to play.
Yeah, hopefully they
one
match
division.
up against Kansas City first round. The mayor talks
Yes.
shit, and Travis Kelce could send him home.
Yeah, I think it'd be the second round. I think Kansas City's going to get that bye because as many problems as they have, we just expect them to figure it out. But Kansas City still looks good. That's their issue. They're just one of those teams. They're
not going to go away.
To me, in my opinion, I want to talk about this just for a little bit.
Okay.
I think this is peak Patrick Mahomes because we always talked about how Brady made something out of nothing. right? Oh, he's got Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, Danny Amendola. What's he going to do with this wide receiver core? No weapons. He won, consistently won. His team was a top 4 seed. I mean, they always won the division. They were probably a top 2 seed most of the time. He got him there. He had one safety net. It was Rob Gronkowski. And as I look across the mirror, what do I see? I see Patrick Mahomes doing it with a bunch of guys who you're like, I mean, they traded for McCole Harmon, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good move. Like, that guy knows the system, and he's like going to be able to like know what to do. And like, yeah, like he's going to have 4 catches a game, and that matters to like Kansas City right now, like a
The
lot. Like, it does.
familiarity matters
Yeah.
for
They just
them.
need dudes who have been there, done that, and can make the plays. And
They're actually
Mahomes is,
just like, oh my God, they're just like New England.
it is. It's so crazy similar that nobody sees it.
Yeah.
It's insane. The only difference is Andy Reid's offense versus Bill Belichick's defense. Like,
Yeah.
that's it.
Safety net, one of the best tight ends of all time. A very good and pretty well paid offensive line. A plethora of rotational receiving running backs that some are disappointments, and then some of them pop for 4 touchdowns one week. You're like, what the fuck is going
Yeah.
on? And then a bunch of receivers that you're like, are you just winning with this? Like,
Yeah. People ask me all the time. They're like, who do you think the best 2 options? I'm like, I think it's their tight ends. I think Kelsey's one, and then I think it's got to be oh god, I'm
Noah Gray.
Noah Gray. I'm
I
like,
think it's
isn't
Noah
that
Gray.
insane? Like, he's
Yeah.
the second best receiving option on that team. Because who knows what's going on with Kadarius Toney? Sky Moore has been not much better
Yeah,
than
they that was a bad pick in my opinion. I didn't like the Sky Moore pick to start with.
so.
I think MVS should be the 2. I haven't been watching their games. I don't know why he's not getting more touches.
Yeah,
Because he was a stud when he gets the ball. But yeah, if Kadarius Toney, please, God,
Mahomes is becoming more of like, you have to run inside the system, and he'll throw you the ball. Unless you're Travis Kelce. Kelsey's the only guy who can kind of freelance and be in other places, and they just have that connection. Because this is exactly what Brady wanted. Brady wanted Julian Edelman, who were, if you ran a 5-yard slant, you were going to slant at the 5.01 yard line and cut it at an exactly a 45-degree angle, and he knew exactly when to hit you and knew when to throw it. Mahomes is turning into that guy a little bit. And he lets one guy, he just tells him, you get open and I'll hit you. Like, I know you'll find the space.
Yeah.
And everyone else, he's like, I can't trust these guys. And they're still winning. And I don't.
It's only because of the refs.
Yeah.
God, I hate it. I can't imagine living around that, dude. I can't get enough of it on Twitter.
I am not even a Kansas City fan, but I just heard it for so many years in New England where it's like the calls end up balancing out one way or another. Like, as much as it seems like they're getting the calls, I just think people like to root against great dynasties like this.
That's nature. I mean, that's been every sports team in history outside of MJ's Bulls for some reason. I don't know if they were hated back in the day. I wasn't alive, but like the Warriors hated, Patriots hated, the Chiefs now being hated on, right? And I've turned around and hated Chiefs fans just as much because everybody's pointing the finger. They're like, oh, the refs, this, that. So then every Chiefs fan was like, what about this holding call on 1st and 10 in the 3rd quarter? Yeah. I'm going to stab all of you.
Well, and they got hammered the second week for that offensive lineman jumping the whole
Juwan
time.
Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, they caught it. The NFL corrected it the next week. So it's like they're just as hard on them. I just think people like to complain.
No, 100%.
All right. Before we only get into like 4 things this entire episode, which is just so much like you and I, because we only covered 3 headlines and have done trivia so far and 1 pump the break. Let's at least get 1 more pump the break in before we jump into bets here. And this is one I think is interesting, and then we can quick hit the last 2. I'm gonna reword the way I have this written. Brandon Staley is 1 loss away from losing his job.
Ooh, who do they play this week? Let's see. I'm about to pull it up.
I got it in front of me.
The Jets.
They play
their bye weeks,
Chicago Bears.
Ooh, yeah, Bears.
On Sunday Night Football. If they lose in Chicago, I think if they lose to Chicago, I think it's over. I think he gets fired.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I honestly think if they lose to the Jets, it might be over. Even if they beat Chicago and then lose the next week to the Jets.
Yeah. I think any situation where they're 3-5, I think he's out. So
yeah. I'm not pumping the brakes. I agree. Yeah. We both knew it should have happened earlier. I mean, and again, we knew this is another team that we're like, this team's going to disappoint, right? We know this, right? This team
Yeah.
is just going to disappoint us in the long run. This is a different level of disappointing. Holy cow. Like, what
Yeah.
are we doing, man? This
We
is
thought they would be
bad.
disappointing and win like 9-10 games.
Yeah,
This is a team that,
disappointing as in like being the eighth seed, right?
yeah,
Not fighting to stay out of the top 10 in the draft. Bad.
yeah. It might not be a bad thing. You might think about, shutting Justin Herbert down and just saying, maybe we'll get Marvin Harrison Jr. and just have an unstoppable wide receiver core.
Yeah,
They need defensive help more than they need anything. They can't rush the passer to save their life, and they have a defensive head coach.
yeah, like again, defensive head coaches are few and far between for that reason because it's harder to keep OCs around. If you can't put a good defense on the field, what are you here for, right?
Yeah.
You can't manage the clock. Your special teams are bad. Our defense sucks. And our offense, again, plug in any guy that's not a top 10 quarterback in that offense. They suck. Justin Herbert is the only, like, they took Quentin Johnston at, 20? And I think he has under 200 receiving yards so far this year. And Mike Williams has been out.
Yeah, he's been really disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some guys that, and like some of them just need a chance because Jordan Addison was very disappointing until Monday night. And then it was like, oh, he's not bad, actually. He's pretty good. Yeah. So sometimes it's just opportunity is all they need.
Yeah, second week with Justin Jefferson on the IR, and he popped. I knew Jordan Addison was going to be good. I really, I kind of wanted him in Baltimore, but Zay Flowers was always my one. I'm so happy we got Zay.
Zay Flowers, I was about to say, I think is the best rookie wide receiver so far this year.
It's not close.
Yeah,
no,
it's not even close.
It's not because Johnston hasn't done anything, and up until last week, Addison hadn't done anything, and then there's
JSN has been slightly.
JSN hasn't done anything, but again, that's also Geno's regressed. Andy is truly the third option in that,
and he's the third. He's been hurt. JSN's been hurt a lot too.
Yeah.
Geno hasn't regressed quite as much as a lot of people want to make it out to sound. I mean, they're 4-2. They're not that bad.
Yeah. They started off rough.
They did
more rough than they finished.
Okay, we're gonna quick hit this last one, so we can jump into bets here. The Texans could be a wild card team this year.
I'm not pumping the brakes, honestly. Truthfully, I don't know where they're sitting. This is without me looking at it.
They are one game outside of the playoffs. They're the 8th seed right now.
They could win the division, possibly. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Is it out of the realm of probability? Yeah, it's probably not going to happen, but I do think it's possible. I mean, they've played what are they 3-2?
They are 3-3.
They've played a lot better than 3-3. Like their offense played a lot better than 3-3 for sure. But yeah, I don't. CJ Stroud has surprised. Tank Dell's been good. Nico, they've just had, honest to God, the one piece that we're like, we know that this part of the offense is going to be good. Dameon Pierce has been the one piece that really hasn't shown up yet. Yeah. Other than that, everyone is exceeding expectations except for the one piece that we thought was going to be the reliable one in Dameon Pierce. And then defense.
Good.
All right. Sorry about a little technical difficulties there, folks. We are going to use this time to hop straight into our betting segment for the week. Tim, you want to run through what you had last week for these folks?
Yeah. So if you or anyone you know is struggling with gambling, contact the Problem Gambling Helpline at 800-522-4700. Professionals are available 24 hours a day to take your call. Help is available at no cost to you or the problem gambler or their concerned others. Boy, I hope you faded me last week because I had a rough week.
You should have just not done bets last week about me.
I regret it, apparently. Browns -3. Browns are one of those teams I'm turning into. I'm just never betting on them again. I just refuse. Every time I'm like, yeah, they should beat the Colts with Gardner Minshew. That defense is tough. And then Gardner Minshew, of course, shreds the Browns defense. Next game I had was Bucks -2.5 versus the Falcons. I was the guy who believed in the Falcons all year. Yeah. And then I'm like, I was betting with them. And then every time I bet with them, I lost. And every time I bet against them, I lose too. So I'm also never touching a Falcons game ever again. As I have them in this week's.
Yeah, I was like, they're sitting there. Is this the final straw?
This is me going back to my original side of what I was doing with the Falcons. I'm done doubting them. The other one I had was Lions Ravens under 43.5. I'm going tough teams. This is going to be a little low scoring run. And then, of course, Lamar Jackson has the game of his life and just absolutely shreds that Detroit defense, which is their weak point. I knew that, but I was kind of hoping two teams that like to run the ball play a little bit slower. So,
Yeah.
rough week for me. 0-3. That brings me down to 9-12. Owen, obviously no bets last week, so he still sits 10-7-1. I'm going to make him do bets one week, and I'm not going to do any so we can balance back out. I'm just not going to be this week because I like some of my picks. Why don't
I
you
was
give
like,
the
make me
people
do.
your picks of the week?
You should just make me do 6 for the week. Make it real tough. Like trying to pull 6
Ooh.
in a week is going to be tough.
I like that. I think
So
we should do that to balance it back out. Make you do
next week
6
I'll do
for a week.
6.
Yeah,
I'm
I
okay
like
with that.
that.
You know, I'll live. It'll probably be the one week where it's like, all right, every game's plus 10 or plus 2.
Yeah.
Nothing in between.
All right. Why don't you give the people your bets for this week?
All right, dude. Should we share the first one since we're going head to head?
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah, I've got the New Orleans Saints -1 versus the Indianapolis Colts.
I'm taking the Colts +1.
Yeah, I wish I would have kept track of like our individual bets each week because I know that the Saints defense has let me down in the past, but also they have been fruitful for me in the past as well. I remember the Green Bay game earlier on in the year; they hit for me on a +1.5. And honestly, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, especially after you talking about how the Browns got shredded by Gardner Minshew, I'm sitting here I'm like, is the Saints defense going to do that much better? Because that's the only thing I'm banking on in this game. But
It's not. And the other reason I'm taking it is I looked at it and I go, okay, I don't like the Saints. I don't love the Colts situation. I'm okay with it. But the Colts are at home and they're getting a point. So if you're gonna make me pick in that one, it's what? It's a pick 'em.
this is
Like
literally the
like we always
closest to
say.
pick 'em can be. There
Yeah,
is no spread where
it's a
like
half
where the
point.
Saints can win and you still hit. Like
Hit.
this is
Yeah.
either a tie and one of us loses, or it's a 1 point game and we push. Like there's
Yeah.
no in between.
And the only way I sit here and look at it, I go, the Colts are at home and they played well last week. So if I have to pick one
Against a
side
good
of it,
defense.
I'm gonna pick, and the Saints defense has been very hot and cold, so I'm gonna ride the other side of that wave for sure.
I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with I'll ride head to head on that one. We haven't had a head to head in a while. So
Yeah, Derek Carr looks so good. Hey, we played each other in fantasy last week, and I kicked your ass. So
all right, I hung 190 on you in a different league 3 weeks ago, and I didn't bring it up. All right. Yeah, you're actually my only dude. You're my only loss on ESPN last week again. I've been on a tear. That's the only league I have a losing record in. I think it's the only league I've lost 3 or more games in too. I'm 3-4. Every other league, I'm either 5-2 or 6-1.
yeah,
But I'm not even going to talk about
yeah,
sleeper. We're not
fantasy
talking about sleeper.
this year has just been a disaster in some, and I am one of those guys that I'm either like 4-4 or I'm like 7-1. Like I either destroy everyone or I'm just mediocre. Like I can't. And the one league I'm trying to suck in, I'm still middle of the road. It's so frustrating. But we're not going to talk about fantasy. What's your next pick?
Next pick on my docket here would be the Detroit Lions -7.5 versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I threw these picks. If you can't tell, these were rushed picks by me. Said I was going to be ready by 7, and I filled this out at 7:15. Coming off of a bad week against Baltimore at home against the Vegas Raiders, Garoppolo might not play. He might, even if he does, he'll get knocked out in the second quarter because he's a wuss. Brian Hoyer, I don't know why we're not starting Aiden O'Connell. I don't know what we have to lose, Josh McDaniel. Are we playing for a playoff spot here? Why is Brian Hoyer in the game? That's my first thing. Secondly, I think if there's ever a team that's like, all right, well, we got a lot of shit to fix, and talk about a team that we can fix it against, right? We're going to go out there and absolutely embarrass the Las Vegas Raiders. 7.5 is a long spread. If you can get this at 6.5, I would hammer it in a heartbeat. I think this team is going to get up and down the field. All they have to do is stop Max Crosby, and they're fine on the defensive end. And I don't think that offense is going to do much. The Detroit defense hasn't been great, but it's Vegas's offense, so.
I was trying to see if Jimmy Garoppolo was going to play, but I'm not seeing anything about it yet.
Any confirmed reports there?
No.
Yeah, I don't know why Aiden O'Connell's not in the game. Truthfully, it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Like
He's back on track. Yeah, he's on track to start on Monday. I swear, I was like, I saw something.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. That might make me more confident in that pick. than Brian Hoyer and O'Connell does. But
I don't
yeah,
know. I can't wait for Josh McDaniels to be an OC again in the league somewhere.
you gonna bring him back?
He's a bad head coach. I don't know. It's such a weird spot.
Would it be hilarious if he came back, was your OC, then Bill retires after this extension, and then he's a good head coach for you guys? I'd be
He's never
pissed.
been a good
I'd be
OC
livid.
anywhere else, too. That's the other weird thing. He was the OC in St. Louis for a year or two, and he was terrible. So
Jeff Fisher is an asterisk next to any guy's name.
yeah,
Talk about St. Louis Rams,
yeah, it was
right?
St. Louis Rams. Yeah, it might
Yeah,
have been.
Jeff.
It
A
was
lot of
Jeff
dark
Fisher.
years
Yeah.
towards the end there. Third pick for me. Jacksonville Jaguars -2.5 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, Jags haven't looked great. Pittsburgh's looked way better than they should, but this is me betting on the Jags just simply outscoring the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even if the Jags let up some points, I am betting that they can get a field goal over on this team. And I feel pretty confident in this one. Can we also talk about how much better they'd be if they would have just taken Aiden Hutchinson at 1 and not overthought that process with Trayvon Walker?
Very much so.
Because Aiden Hutchinson looks like a stud.
He looks good. I did think about taking this pick. I don't know. It's one of those games that I'm like, oh God,
yeah, betting against Pittsburgh is a rough one.
I do like the fact it's less than a field goal. That would have been my fourth pick. If you said lock down a fourth pick, I would have taken Jacksonville there.
That's fair.
So for my remaining picks, obviously I have the Colts +1 versus the Saints. We already talked about that. I have Texans -3.5 versus the Panthers.
Got to be on the road, right?
That line, it is on the road. That line feels too tight for how good the Texans have played and how bad Carolina's played.
Especially how well their offense has played.
Yeah. So I feel real good about that one. Again, that feels like a trap line to me personally, and I typically hate trap lines, but it feels good. Falcons -2.5 versus the Titans. Titans playing Will Levis in his first career game. So I just like the thought of, and the Titans defense got worse. So I just like the thought of, letting the Falcons kind of do their thing. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like this game's going to be a blowout or anything like that, but only having to cover a field goal again, super, super easy.
Talk about two teams that could trade for Brock Purdy if he doesn't end up being the starter in San Francisco again. I think both those teams are in line there.
Falcons especially really interesting.
Especially Atlanta, yeah. Is this the final straw?
So well, by the way.
Is this the Drake London?
Yeah, Drake London. What did I say? Drake May?
Drake May.
Drake. Yeah.
Is this the final straw for the Falcons, right? If they let you down this week, are you done? Are you not coming back?
Dude, I'm so in love with this team. And honestly, the crazy thing is they could still win this division like I predicted. It's not out of the possibility. I just haven't. I would feel so much better if they had a backup QB that I even remotely thought was decent.
Yeah.
If I was like, oh, you know what, they're just gonna if they had Gardner Minshew, I don't even think it's a question. I think this team is so good.
Who is their backup?
I'm looking it up right now because Taylor Heineke is their backup actually. So
how has he not gotten time yet?
I don't know. I kind of forgot he went there.
I totally forgot he was there. I forgot that guy existed.
It is crazy. That could be
Arthur Smith needs to be fired. Talk about another guy that's a terrible head coach and a great OC, in my opinion. Not to the McDaniels level, obviously.
I don't think he's done enough to be fired yet. I'm really curious to see, if they make the playoffs, there's no way they fire him. I don't think he can.
He can come be my running backs coach any day of the week, right?
Okay.
I'll go sign Adrian Peterson. He'll turn him into a 1,200-yard runner for some goddamn reason. But just don't put any 6'4" freaks of nature at receiver because he won't figure out how to use him. But I don't know, man. Taylor Heineke comes off the practice squad and puts up a damn good game against Tom Brady in the playoffs, and he can't get a game when Desmond Ridder can't throw a 4-yard drag route. I don't know, man. That was my other thing that we didn't get a chance to talk about. Everybody's talking about that Kyle Pitts. What a great catch. Behind the back, one-handed. Boom. How is Desmond Ridder still a starting quarterback? He can't throw a 4-yard drag route that's wide open. There's two guys trailing Kyle Pitts by 3 yards, nobody within the 10 yards between him and the sideline, and you can't throw a 4-yard drag route. Put Taylor Heineke in the game. If they put Taylor Heineke in the game, they'll win the division. Pretty handedly, I think. By 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do, I say he's been playing well. He's still been a slightly hit or miss, but He's getting better. I think he isn't as big of a bust as people want him to be, but I
Drake
do.
London.
Yeah, I thought he was playing way better than he was, honestly.
I'll still give him a pass. Just, I mean, if you can't figure out how to use Kyle Pitts, how do I expect you to use Drake London at that point? Like,
And I think Kyle Pitts is like one of those guys that he should be a wide receiver. I don't really think he is a tight end that much, in my opinion. But
yeah, I will tell you this: like, if he does flame out and doesn't work in Atlanta, you will see a very similar situation to what happened with Evan Ingram when he left New York.
yeah,
So,
he's gonna have a resurgence somewhere else. That is an
yeah,
interesting.
and God forbid, I know where it's going to be. It's going to be goddamn Philadelphia, and we're all going to lose our minds.
Might be. I don't know. They like Dallas Goddard a
You
lot.
just, yeah, can you imagine? They go no running backs, 4 wide. Dallas Goddard's a tight end, and they just go Julio, AJ, Kyle Pitts, Devonta Smith. Kill me now. End it all.
Oh God.
I can't wait till they run a fake tush push. I know that's completely off topic. The fake tush push is coming. Be prepared, folks. They're going to throw a wide receiver screen or something dumb off it one of these times, and everybody's going to be asleep.
It's going to be interesting for sure. But all right, you got anything else for these people?
I got nothing, man. With that being said, like we started the show. Oh, firstly, if you made it this far, God bless your soul. Go do something fun for an hour after sitting through that for an hour and a half. Hit us up on all our social medias, right? You get me on Twitter still at Owen _Berg on Twitter. Instagram is still Red Zone Talk. YouTube, Red Zone Talk Pod. Still figuring out the TikTok username situation, but if you look up Red Zone Talk Pod, we are there on TikTok as well. Still getting the kinks of like how we're posting and everything there. Tim's been managing the entire workload for the social media, and I do not want that to continue. So got to figure some things out in that department, but we will be kicking up the social media game as we go along here. Send us fan questions, right? We had 2 or 3 weeks in a row where we had a fan question. Yeah. So that actually reminds me, I think Brendo might have sent me one for last week when we didn't do a show, and I'm just now remembering. So if that's the case, Brendo, and you made it this far, I promise we'll get your question on next week as long as it's still prevalent. So with that being said, thank you all for making it through episode 11, and we will see you guys next week for episode 12. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you then.